Hi everyone, this is Wayne Rivers at Performance Construction Advisors, where we build better contractors. This week I want to talk about 4 types of wealth. I think I've seen this in Arlen's vlog in the recent past. I got this from George Stern on X. You can find him at George Stern, and I thought it was pretty interesting because when we think of wealth, and I mean at least when I think of wealth, I'm thinking about financial wealth, of course. But he talks about 3 other types that I think are equally valid, especially for late career people like me, and maybe many of you too. What about this is important to you? Well, golly, we all want to be financially secure. That goes without saying. But as we weigh out that equation, I think recognizing these other kinds of wealth, these other kinds of opportunity, if you will, can make a big difference as we calculate where we are in life. So bear with me, and of course email me if you think that you might have something contrary to think or say, or you might want to support this. But for the 4 kinds of wealth, first, financial. Caveat, money doesn't buy happiness. We talked about this with respect to the longitudinal Harvard study that we blogged about back in December. I think they said $75,000 inflation adjusted, of course, is about the level at which money begins to mean less and less. So the marginal utility of money goes way up until you hit a certain level, and then the marginal utility of money comes down. And I think that's probably pretty darn accurate. If you want financial security, my dentist recommended a book to me about 30 years ago, actually from a peer group he was in, and it was called The Richest Man in Babylon. It was written in 1926, so 99 years ago. By George Clayson, The Richest Man in Babylon. Basically what it says, it's a pithy, short book, easy to read. You can knock it out in one plane flight. And basically what it says is save 10%. Save 10%. And I'm thinking, golly, I read this as a young man. Some years we didn't save 10%. Some years there was just nothing. But we've always had that goal of putting aside 10% a year, and many years, maybe not even most, but many years, we've been able to do it. Really a great little book to get. It's something that you could buy for your leadership team even, and even though it was written 99 years ago, it still applies today. The second type of wealth, health wealth. And I think absolutely, even if you had a cajillion dollars, but either physically or mentally you're breaking down rapidly, you're not really able to enjoy your cajillion dollars. You're not able to enjoy your 400-foot mega yacht, right? Because you can't get on board. You can't travel to the seaside or whatever. You really can't enjoy any of the other kinds of wealth if you don't have health wealth. We talked about health span recently in a vlog. And one of the things that Stern recommends is get professional help. Talk to someone about, a personal trainer or a nutritionist, because here we are, I'm 64 years old and I've got all this stuff clogging up my mind about what it means to be healthy or wealthy or whatever. And getting an outside opinion that, golly, you eat what? You've been eating what for 64 years? Maybe, cut down on that a little bit and it'll show up in your waistline. Talk to outside people. And you might have to talk to 2, 3, 4, 5 professionals before you find one with whom you really click. That's just a fact. But I do think that's a great idea when it comes to your health. Talk to some professionals who might be able to help you with your training or your nutrition or whatever it happens to be. The third kind of wealth is time wealth. And this is one I think that we appreciate more and more as we progress in our careers. What it means is simply that you control your time. Now, how much time do we have? Every single human being on earth has 168 hours a week. Now, let's say that we get 8 hours of sleep, or we try to get 8 hours of sleep, or we are preparing for sleep 56 hours a week. Okay, 56 hours a week. Maybe we're not sleeping because we have insomnia or whatever, but we want to sleep. We're trying to sleep. We're up watching television or watching sports because we can't sleep, but that's our sleep time. Take out that 56 hours. That leaves you 112 hours a week. Now, for most of you contractors, you're working 60 to 80 hours a week. That just doesn't leave that much time to fit in everything else, family, friends, faith, etc. So you've got to really be conscious of how you allocate that 112 hours a week of your waking time. And the fourth thing is social wealth. Now I've ordered them this way on purpose. Financial wealth is for number one, only because that's the one that comes to mind first for most of us. Social wealth is probably the one that comes to mind least often for us because we're rugged individuals and by gosh, we're gonna push through and all that other stuff. But we know from the Harvard longitudinal study that the number one difference maker in life is relationships. Now, Dr. Peter Attia, as we learned a few years ago, said number one is exercise. So exercise might increase health span, but what makes life worth living is relationships. So they have to go hand in hand. And so relationships and connections, we know Dr. Robert Waldinger is all about that. His entire book, it came down to relationships matter. And I think that's absolutely true. And in this case, Stern talks about the fact that a few deep, meaningful relationships outweigh lots and lots of shallow, superficial relationships. And I kind of think you need both, but having those deep, meaningful relationships accounts for a lot. So what do you think? Send me an email. Let me know what your thoughts are. This is Wayne Rivers at Performance Construction Advisors, where we build better contractors.